was something calculated to disconcert death. Azrael, the Mohammedan angel of the sepulchre, would have turned back, and thought that he had mistaken the door. G seemed to be dying because he willed it so. There was freedom in his agony. His legs alone were motionless. It was there that the shadows held him fast. His feet were cold and dead, but his head survived with all the power of life, and seemed full of light. G, at this solemn moment, resembled the king in that tale of the Orient who was flesh above and marble below.
There was a stone there. The bishop sat down. The exordium was abrupt. "I congratulate you," said he, in the tone which one uses for a reprimand. "You did not vote for the death of the king, after all." The old member of the convention did not appear to notice the bitter meaning underlying the words, "after all." He replied. The smile had quite disappeared from his face. "Do not congratulate me too much, sir. I did vote for the death of the tyrant." It was the tone of austerity answering the tone of severity. "What do you mean to say?" resumed the bishop.
"I mean to say that man has a tyrant, ignorance. I voted for the death of that tyrant. That tyrant engendered royalty, which is authority falsely understood, while science is authority rightly understood. Man should be governed only by science. And conscience," added the bishop. "It is the same thing. Conscience is the quantity of innate science which we have within us." Monseigneur Bienvenu listened in some astonishment to this language, which was very new to him. The member of the convention resumed.
"So far as Louis XVI was concerned, I said no, I did not think that I had the right to kill a man, but I felt it my duty to exterminate evil. I voted the end of the tyrant, that is to say, the end of prostitution for woman, the end of slavery for man, the end of night for the child. In voting for the Republic, I voted for that. I voted for fraternity, concord, the dawn. I have aided in the overthrow of prejudices and errors. The crumbling away of prejudices and errors causes light. We have caused the fall of the old world, and the old world, that vase of miseries, has become, through its upsetting upon the human race, an urn of joy." "Mixed joy," said the bishop.
"You may say troubled joy, and today, after that fatal return of the past, which is called 1814, joy which has disappeared. Alas! The work was incomplete, I admit. We demolished the ancient regime in deeds, we were not able to suppress it entirely in ideas. To destroy abuses is not sufficient, customs must be modified. The mill is there no longer, the wind is still there. You have demolished. It may be of use to demolish, but I distrust a demolition complicated with wrath. Right has its wrath, bishop, and the wrath of right is an element of progress. In any case, and in spite of whatever may be said, the French Revolution is the most important step of the human race since the advent of Christ. Incomplete, it may be, but sublime. It set free all the unknown social quantities, it softened spirits, it calmed, appeased, enlightened, it caused the waves of civilization to flow over the earth. It was a good thing. The French Revolution is the consecration of humanity."
The bishop could not refrain from murmuring, "Yes, 93. The member of the convention straightened himself up in his chair with an almost lugubrious solemnity, and exclaimed, so far as a dying man is capable of exclamation. "Ah, there you go, 93. I was expecting that word." A cloud had been forming for the space of 1500 years, at the end of 1500 years it burst. You are putting the thunderbolt on its trial. The bishop felt, without, perhaps, confessing it, that something within him had suffered extinction. Nevertheless, he put a good face on the matter. He replied,
"The judge speaks in the name of justice, the priest speaks in the name of pity, which is nothing but a more lofty justice. A thunderbolt should commit no error." And he added, regarding the member of the convention steadily the while, Louis XVII. The conventionary stretched forth his hand and grasped the bishop's arm. Louis XVII. "Let us see. For whom do you mourn? Is it for the innocent child? Very good, In that case I mourn with you. Is it for the royal child? I demand time for reflection. To me, the brother of Cartouche, an innocent child who was hung up by the armpits in the place to grieve, until death ensued, for the sole crime of having been the brother of Cartouche, is no less painful than the grandson of Louis XV, an innocent child, martyred in the tower of the Temple, for the sole crime of having been grandson of Louis XV.
Monsieur, said the bishop, I like not this conjunction of names. Cartouche? Louis XV. To which of the two do you object? A momentary silence ensued. The bishop almost regretted having come, and yet he felt vaguely and strangely shaken. The conventionary resumed. Monsieur Priest, you love not the crudities of the true. Christ loved them. He seized a rod and cleared out the temple. His scourge, full of lightnings, was a harsh speaker of truths. When he cried, Sinite parvulos, he made no distinction between the little children. It would not have embarrassed him to bring together the Dauphin of Barabbas and the Dauphin of Herod. Innocence, monsieur, is its own crown. Innocence has no need to be a highness. It is as august in rags as in fleurs de lis.
That is true, said the bishop in a low voice. I persist, continued the conventionary G, you have mentioned Louis XVII. To me. Let us come to an understanding. Shall we weep for all the innocent, all martyrs, all children, the lowly as well as the exalted? I agree to that. But in that case, as I have told you, we must go back further than 93, and our tears must begin before Louis XVII. I will weep with you over the children of kings, provided that you will weep with me over the children of the people. I weep for all, said the bishop.
Equally, exclaimed conventionary G, and if the balance must incline, let it be on the side of the people. They have been suffering longer. Another silence ensued. The conventionary was the first to break it. He raised himself on one elbow, took a bit of his cheek between his thumb and his forefinger, as one does mechanically when one interrogates and judges, and appealed to the bishop with a gaze full of all the forces of the death agony. It was almost an explosion.
Yes, sir, the people have been suffering a long while. And hold. That is not all, either. Why have you just questioned me and talked to me about Louis XVII? I know you not. Ever since I have been in these parts one have dwelt in this enclosure alone, never setting foot outside, and seeing no one but that child who helps me. Your name has reached me in a confused manner, it is true, and very badly pronounced, I must admit, but that signifies nothing. Clever men have so many ways of imposing on that honest goodman, the people. By the way, I did not hear the sound of your carriage, you have left it yonder, behind the coppice at the fork of the roads, no doubt. I do not know you, I tell you.
You have told me that you are the bishop, but that affords me no information as to your moral personality. In short, I repeat my question. Who are you? You are a bishop, that is to say, a prince of the church, one of those gilded men with heraldic bearings and revenues, who have vast prebends, the bishopric of D, 15,000 francs settled income, 10,000 in perquisites, total, 25,000 francs, who have kitchens, who have liveries, who make good cheer, who eat more hens on Friday, who strut about, a lackey before, a lackey behind, in a gala coach, and who have palaces, and who roll in their carriages in the name of Jesus Christ who went barefoot. You are a prelate, revenues, palace, horses, servants, good table, all the sensualities of life. You have this like the rest, and like the rest, you enjoy it, it is well, but this says either too much or too little. This does not enlighten me upon the intrinsic and essential value of the man who comes with the probable intention of bringing wisdom to me. To whom do I speak? Who are you?
The bishop hung his head and replied, Vermis sum, I am a worm. A worm of the earth in a carriage, growled the conventionary. It was the conventionary's turn to be arrogant, and the bishop's to be humble. The bishop resumed mildly. So be it, sir. But explain to me how my carriage, which is a few paces off behind the trees yonder, how my good table and the moorhens.